Imagine being told that your newborn baby had a rare, fatal genetic disease that you'd never even heard of, Fanconi anemia, and would likely die before kindergarten. It's absolutely impossible to imagine that there could be anything good at all about learning that your firstborn child had a disease so deadly that it would snatch him away before he learned to climb a tree, read a book, or fall in love. My son Henry's early, shattering diagnosis was absolutely excruciating, but it had a silver lining. At the moment of parenthood, I learned what was important and what didn't matter at all. I learned to savor each moment, to love, to laugh, and to dwell in possibility. To live every day to its fullest, eat dessert first, go to every game, take the trip, live with no regrets. Silver linings. My name is Laurie Strongin. I'm the founder and CEO of Washington, D.C.-based Hope for Henry Foundation and the author of Saving Henry. I'm also the mother of 3 boys, Henry, who you'll hear about today, and Jack and Joe, who are 27 and 22 and are absolutely incredible. When Henry turned 4 and his bone marrow failed just like the doctors predicted, we left our home in Washington, D.C., and we drove to a hospital in Minneapolis, where our Batman-loving, firefly-catching, stomp rocket blasting, ear-to-ear smiling, belly-laughing son would spend 100 days in nearly total isolation during his bone marrow transplant, an eternity to a 4-year-old. Henry's colorless, sanitized, isolated hospital room was a shocking transition from where we had been just 2 weeks earlier. Preschool graduation, a championship soccer game, our favorite amusement park, Funland in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and a huge, amazing, over-the-top going-away superhero extravaganza. Instead of the sounds of kids laughing and screaming with delight, the only noise was the constant swishing and beeping of Henry's IV pump and the squeaking of the nurse's shoes. Instead of colorful classroom walls covered in children's artwork, the hospital room walls were white and bare. Replacing the scent of fresh-cut grass, popcorn, or homemade cookies was the antiseptic smell of clean. We had traded everything for almost nothing at all. I had no idea how I was going to get my son, who had never taken a pill before, to all of a sudden swallow 28 in a day. As luck would have it, there was a magic closet in Henry's dreary hospital room. My yearning for something, anything, to bring the wonder of childhood to Henry's cheerless room had supercharged my magical thinking. So much so that it turned a white, narrow, hospital-grade shelving unit in the corner of Henry's room into a treasure trove of everything Batman, available at a moment's notice, a silver lining. I knew that Henry would do almost anything for a brand new action toy, so we stuffed the magic closet with Batman action figures of all shapes and sizes. When Henry threw up after yet another round of chemotherapy, or had to take a fistful of pills, or endure a 5th attempt to get an IV into his bruised vein, the magic closet delivered. During Henry's 2.5 years at hospitals across the country, Henry amassed a huge and diverse collection of Batman action figures. Once, he lined them up head to toe, beginning in our basement. They went up 2 flights of stairs and into his bedroom, where they wound up in a huge pile of awesomeness. The magic closet was our way of acknowledging the hardship and trying in the smallest possible way to reward Henry for it, one challenge at a time, and to provide him with incentives to do all the things that he had to do to get better and get back home. It turns out that the discovery of the magic closet was not simply good parental instinct. We were using behavioral economics, or nudge theory, to encourage Henry to make good choices. This theory was popularized years later by Nobel Prize-winning economists Cass Sunstein and Richard Thaler in their 2008 book, not surprisingly called Nudge. Nudge theory is about encouraging people to make good choices without forcing them or taking away their freedom. It's like giving them a little push in the right direction. The allure of a Batman action figure led Henry to instruct the nurses to bring it on, whether the it was a needle stick, an awful tasting medicine, or a painful bandage change. With it, in his words, Henry remained on the super path to super duper better. In other words, he adhered to his medical plan. Henry's experience of spending years in the hospital is not unique. Every year here in the US, 15,000 children are diagnosed with cancer. Their average length of treatment is 1,095 days. Just stop and think about that for a minute. Every single year, a new group of kids will spend almost 16 million days collectively in treatment. Despite their outcomes, they all share one stark reality. To get better, they need to endure years of treatment. They have to undergo medical procedures that are painful and terrifying, and they have to take medicines that taste awful, make them weak and nauseous, and cause them to lose their hair. And they have to do all of these things away from family, friends, school, summer camp, sleepovers, birthday parties, everything that makes life worth living. That's why they need nudges. A year or so after Henry's transplant, I got a call from a woman named Rachel Grossman. Her son Jacob was going to have a transplant at the same hospital as Henry. She called to ask me for advice. After I told her what it was like to live in the Ronald McDonald House, which restaurants in Minneapolis delivered to the transplant floor, and what she could and couldn't bring into her son's transplant room, Henry asked if he could speak with her. He gave her what he thought was the most essential advice: to make sure that Jacob got a room with a magic closet. Henry was the master of illusion. He made everyone, perhaps me most of all, believe that anything was possible. The only thing that seemed impossible was that inside every single cell in his body, there was a deadly genetic defect that one day would take his life. 7 years, 1 month, 2 weeks, and 2 days after he was born, Fanconi anemia took my son away. After Henry died, I knew I had to do something to honor what I had learned from him. I had to find a silver lining. But how could I possibly find a silver lining in the devastating shadow of Henry's death? I wanted to honor his short but magnificent life, to find a way to carry him with me. And I wanted to teach my young sons, Jack and Joe, who were only 5 and 1 at the time, how to face life's inevitable heartbreaks and challenges with strength, with determination, and with hope. On what would have been Henry's 8th birthday, my husband Alan and I founded Hope for Henry to improve the lives and recoveries of kids with complex medical needs. We're using behavioral economics, or nudge theory, to encourage kids to stick to their medical plans. with improved safety, reduced cost, and a far, far better patient experience. The Magic Closet is back. And in its latest iteration, Hope for Henry's Super Rewards for Super Kids, it's helping tens of thousands of kids at hospitals nationwide. Recently, 6-year-old Max Carr enrolled in Hope for Henry's Super Rewards for Super Kids to help him navigate the MRIs that are part of his treatment for a brain tumor and leukemia. Max had been so terrified of MRIs that he needed to be sedated completely to just get through it. And that brings with it significant risks that range from nausea and vomiting to neurological delays, irregular heartbeat, and far, far worse. "Let's do this," Max said, as he showed up at Children's National's MRI suite with his Super Rewards game board in hand. Before Max even started the MRI, he adhered stickers showing Hope for Henry superheroes navigating every single step of the procedure. When Max changed into his gown, he proudly placed an "I did it" sticker on his game board. He did the same when he got his vitals taken and when he went into and came out of the tunnel, because he did it. Max was the youngest patient ever at the clinic to navigate an MRI with no sedation at all. He left that day with a brand new Spider-Man Lego, which he had picked from the Hope for Henry Super Rewards cart, a completed game board to show his father and his sisters what he had done that day, and a sense of accomplishment, which he summed up in 3 words: "I crushed it." Silver linings. So what does this mean for you? I'm sure most of you don't have the kind of complications that Henry and Max faced in your life, but nudges can help you too. What are your own medical goals on your own super path to super duper better? Because nudges aren't only used for kids, they're used for adults too. Insurance companies offer preferred rates for non-smokers, and they offer financial incentives for people to stick to their exercise and healthy eating goals. How about you? What nudges do you need to ensure you crush it on your own super path to super duper better? A prepaid package of exercise classes, a meal delivery service, a pill pack with your daily medications. These nudges can be so subtle that we barely notice them, but they can have profoundly positive effects on our lives. Henry had no idea that Power Armor Batman was the nudge that he needed to sit completely still for his radiation. And he didn't know that Jungle Tracker Batman was the push that he needed to get his central line placed so he could get his chemotherapy. He had no idea that every single Batman action figure was a matter of life or death. But as he carefully chose each of the hundreds that he ultimately amassed, he and we nudged our way toward the silver lining. Thank you.